According to multiple reports, Auburn, guys, has their guy. Liberty coach Hugh Freeze is the new Auburn head football coach after 4 years at Liberty. This comes after the Tigers reportedly struck out, bringing their first choice, Lane Kiffin, to the Plains. Joshua, let's start with you here. What are your thoughts on this hire?
Well, Auburn was going after a couple of guys that had been to coaching rehab. You know, Lane Kiffin spent some time under Nick Saban, has done a really good job as a head coach after that. And then they get Hugh Freeze. And Lane Kiffin was the one that everybody wanted. He's kind of the whiz kid coach with the great personality. He would know how to leverage NIL. He would know how to leverage a transfer portal and can really recruit. But Hugh Freeze has kind of been flying under the radar. Like, Liberty's put together some really good seasons under Hugh Freeze, but I mean, it's Liberty, so not a lot of people are talking about them. Now he's there at Auburn. I'll say this, the dude is a really good football coach. He knows exactly what he's doing. His history feels a little bit nasty that he's going to be in charge of a big-time program and in charge of developing young people. But I'm very curious to see how this does work out. Now there's this feeling when you start to evaluate the SEC where Nick Saban is the guy. He's one of the greatest that's ever done it, but Alabama's had a season that falls below standard, and Nick Saban's getting old. You got Brian Kelly down there. You've got Jimbo Fisher, who's been recruiting. Maybe he can get Texas A&M on the right track. We mentioned Lane Kiffin. You got Kirby in there with the national title. Like, there are a bunch of really good coaches down there. So now this is a league that has been the pinnacle of college football, extremely competitive, and so I'm excited to see what it looks like on the field.
No.
Go ahead, Cole.
I don't know about you guys, but I do not have an 18-year-old son. But if I did, I don't think I would send him to get some tutelage under a guy like Hugh Freeze. You look at all the transgressions, and I know that everybody, they make mistakes along the way, but when was the last time you made mistakes like Hugh Freeze, and then mistakes again like Hugh Freeze, and then again like Hugh Freeze, and then for him to have those transgressions and to go from where he was at Ole Miss to Liberty, which is, for all intents and purposes, it's a Christian university, and some of those transgressions are not very Christ-like. I'm not trying to bring that into the conversation, but you know what it looks like.
As somebody who went to one of those universities as well, I get what you're saying.
And it's crazy. So when you think about you want those guys to shape and mold your son as a football player, but not just as that, but as a young man. And some of those missteps that he's made, I don't know, they make you raise an eyebrow, no doubt about it.
It lets you know what an SEC school is willing to stomach to get a seat at the table in terms of who you bring in, who can recruit, and who can really make some noise in the SEC.
And I'll finish it with this, because I'm not trying to justify it. I think it's nasty as well. And we've talked about many of these coaching decisions, but I mean, he's in charge of a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar corporation, essentially. And I'd implore you to go to, one of these big companies that's out here in corporate America and find a guy who's not doing similar things. And I think that is the nastiest part about this, is where we're talking about an academic institution that's in charge of the development of young people. When it comes down to the money, they're going to make whatever decision they feel like is best.